Welcome back, my friends. We are going to continue our study on fables today. Today will be our last read aloud on fables, and I just wanted to take a moment to review with you our learning target as well as what the elements of fables are before we begin our read aloud today of the contest between the sun and the wind, which I know there's a few of you that have been asking to hear this one, and I am excited to read it to you guys. So, fables. Well, let's start with our learning target. Our learning target, as you know, is to recognize our elements of fables and to identify the moral or lesson in a fable. So, we will be working to do that as we're reading our read aloud today and as you're doing your independent assignments following our read aloud and our mini lesson. So real fast, let's review our anchor chart on fables. Fables are stories that teach a lesson, often in which animals speak and act like humans. And it says, often, the reason why I wanted to review this with you today is because our book is between the contest between the sun and the wind. They are not animals. But I will tell you that they still hold true to the elements of fables, and we will talk about why in a moment. So in the elements of fables, we know that there are usually animals that are the main characters, and that has been true in every single one that we've read so far. It is not true in the contest between the sun and the wind because the main characters are the sun and the wind, and they are not animals. However, they do talk and act like humans, which we know is the definition of a big word called personification. So personification is where things that are not humans talk and act like humans, and it is typically animals in fables. Does not always have to be. The contest between the sun and the wind, like I said, is between the sun and the wind, not animals, but they do show personification, so they do take on human traits and characteristics. There are still simple characters and a simple plot, which again is the problem and the solution of the story. And it still teaches a moral or a lesson, and remember that that is one of our learning targets, to be able to identify these guys and to identify the moral or the lesson in the story. So today, we are going to read The Contest Between the Sun and the Wind. Now, the author retold this story from an Aesop's fable. Aesop is the name of a man believed to have told many fables. So, no one knows for sure if Aesop was an actual person. If he was a real person, he was a slave in Greece more than 2,000 years ago. And his fables were passed down orally over the years, and now we read them. So, in this story, the sun and the wind, they argue over which of them is stronger. And to settle the fight, they have a contest to see who will get the man to take off his coat. Okay? Who do you think's going to win? We will find out. So, let's begin the contest between the sun and the wind, which is an Aesop's fable retold by Heather Forrest. So, there once was a man in a warm coat, walking his way down a winding road. There's our man in his warm coat, walking his way down a winding road. The sun and the wind, high in the sky, watched the man as he walked by. Look at these illustrations. Kind of crazy. Look. A tornado came. Guess it's the wind. There's the sun. There's the wind. Look, he looks angry. And there's our man in the warm coat, and he's going back down to the land. The wind bragged to the sun, "I'm the strongest one. I'm much stronger than you." "Really?" said the sun. "Then I challenge you to a contest of strength. Let us see who can take the coat off that man on the road." So the main characters in this story, the sun and the wind, have human qualities. They think, talk, and act like people. What sort of character do you think the wind is? What sort of character do you think he is? Think about that for a second. he too may be a little conceited or kind of proud, like that lion in The Lion and the Mouse that we read about. Oh, that's too easy, howled the wind. I'll huff and I'll puff, I'll blow to the brim. I'll rip his coat right off of him. I'll smash him against the trees. I'll take his coat off with ease. So, the wind blew harshly down the road. The man clutched tightly to his coat. The wind grew loud. The wind grew cold. The shivering man buttoned up his coat. How'd that work for the wind? The birds clung to the trees. The world was dust and leaves. I'm going to read that again. The world was dust and leaves. Those words really help me to imagine how hard the wind is blowing. The illustration makes me feel like the wind is tossing everything into the air. Look, the whole world was dust and leaves. What happens when we are out on, let's say, the playground area, the blacktop area, and there's a good wind gust? We all go, ah, right? Because the sand and the dust and the leaves, they all go blowing around. Do you think that maybe that is what the wind is doing here to the man in the coat? Can you make a connection with our own recess lives? I know I can. That's what I thought of. I thought of all those times out on recess we're like blocking our eyes because the sand's coming at us, right? Oh, this is cool. The book turned. But the harder the wind blew down the road, the tighter the man held onto his coat. Look. So there's our wind, and the more he blew, the tighter the man held. Discouraged, which means like being frustrated, like that you can't do something and maybe that you can't, right? The wind blustered off with a gust and a swirl. And there you have the wind, angry, going off. He's discouraged. He's annoyed and angry. He's like, done. Then the sun peeked out from behind a cloud, warming the air and the frosty ground. Look at our sun. Do you see the difference in their emotions on their faces? Think about the wind, and now think about the sun here. Character traits, right? The man on the road unbuttoned his coat. He lifted his voice and sang out loud. Why do you think the man unbuttoned his coat? What do you think is going to happen next? Let's see if you're right. Let's see. The sun grew even brighter, and brighter, and brighter, and brighter. The man began to feel so hot, he took off his coat and sat down in a shady spot. So much brighter, 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 and brighter. And the man got hot, took off his coat, and went and sat in the shade. The wind returned and said to the sun, I huffed and I puffed and I blew to the brim and I could not force the man's coat from him. I can't imagine that you were able to either. There's our wind, and he's all sorts of, look at his eyes and his eyebrows are going down, right? What type of emotion is he right now? What are his character traits? Look at him. Yeesh. The wind stopped howling long enough to look down. There was the man, sitting under the tree. Lo and behold, his coat was folded up like a pillow under his head. How did you force him to take off his coat? The wind asked in amazement. And look at the words. Look at the way the author chose to write them. He's force, look. It's all in caps. That means that it needs to be read with loudness and enthusiasm, right? Yeah. The sun replied, I did not force him at all. I lit the day. Through gentleness, I won my way. There must have been a trick, grumbled the wind. It's not a trick, said the sun. It's a choice and a skill. Would you like me to show you? Look. See, he's still must and trick. He's still got some angry all capital letters in there, right? And then look at his expression. And then look at the wind's expression and look at the sun's expression. Opposites, right? The sun just smiled. That is the end of our tale. The contest between the sun and the wind. There's our fable. So, in this fable, we saw personification a little bit of a different way, so it's something to remember. We learned a lesson, and there is a moral. So now it's your turn. I need you to go back into your Google Classroom, and I need you to finish the Google Docs in complete sentences using text evidence based on what you remember or what you heard me reading, and complete answers. Complete the contest between the sun and the wind. And when you are done with that, you're going to go in and read the next fable independently and answer the questions that accompany it. If you have any questions, you are more than welcome to join me at our 11 o'clock Zoom to ask them. I miss you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.